Welcome to part 2 of this video tutorial on percentages. In this part we are going to add or subtract the part to the whole. It results in 6 scenarios which we are going to look at in detail. You've got an old and a new number, and you can have a decrease or an increase. Finally, we look at the summary. The first example is example A, where you have in the first week a profit of $10 and in the second week a profit of $15. So you increase your profit by $5. The second week you lose those $5 because your profit decreases to $10 again. It looks like the situation has not changed, but there is one important thing that has changed, and that is the percentage. In the first week you had an increase of $5, which is 50% of $10. So your profit increased by 50%. In the second week, however, your profit decreased not by 50% but by 33%, because you have to take into account that you started then with $15. So we see that it's important with respect to which number you consider the difference. The answer to that question is always the whole. You always take the percentage of the whole. But the whole we now call the old quantity, or O, and we add a star to mark the fact that this is the quantity from which we take the percentage. The new quantity we get, the result, is the addition of the old quantity and the part. And the part can either be an increase or a decrease. So the new quantity can be more, but it can also be less than the old quantity. Here we see the other 4 scenarios. An increase from an old is, for instance, that you start with 500, you add 12% and you ask, what do I get? It can also be a decrease. Then you again start with a known old quantity, but now you are not adding to it, but you are decreasing. First you have 80 and you decrease by 15%. The next situation is this. You buy a smartphone. It costs $450, tax included. And tax here is 20%. And the question is, what is the price without tax? So, what is the amount from which you have to take 20%? You don't know what that amount is, but you do know what the result is, $450. And then you have got, of course, the other way around, that you decrease the result. Here you have bought a house for an unknown amount. You sell it for $204,000 and you do it at a loss of 15%. But the question is, from which amount should I take 15%? Not from $204,000. Here we look at the first example. And we solve it in 3 different ways. And please try to understand each of them. The first is calculate the part. I had 500, add 12%, which amounts to 60, and the result is 560. Another way to do the same thing is to use proportionality tables. So you start with 100%, which is 500. You say I add 12, so I finish with 112%, but you don't know what amount that is. Then, in order to find that, you first calculate what 1% is, which of course is 100th of 500, and then you multiply by 112. The result is the same, but you arrive at it in a different way. The best solution is to use fractions. Here we skip the part and the percentages. So you start with one whole and you add 0.12 to it, which results in 1.12 times the whole. And here you've got the solution. Decreasing happens in a similar way. First you calculate the part, that is 15% of 80, and you subtract it now because it is a decrease. You can also do that by use of proportionality tables, and then you get this. And finally you can use fractions. Then you say I start with 1, I subtract 0.15, which leaves me with 0.85 of the original whole, and then you get 68. Again, the same result. Now we have a different problem, that is, you start with a known new value but an unknown old value. Solution by part doesn't work because you need the old number to apply the percentage to, and you do not know that. So there is no solution by using the parts method. You can use the proportionality table, and then you say I start with 100%, which is unknown, and I finish with 120%, which is known. You work back, you say 120% divided by 120 gives 1%, and 450 divided by the same number gives this. Then you multiply it by 100 in order to get the original value, which should be subject to the 20% addition. You can also use fractions. You know that $450 is 20% more than the required amount. So the required amount is $450 divided by 1.2, which is again the same as we found in the second method. Now the last example is sell a house, as you see here, and you do so at a loss. You want to know the amount at which you bought it. Again, you cannot use the parts method because you do not know on which amount to apply the 15% loss. It's not known. You only know at what price you are going to sell it again, but not at what you bought it. And that is the amount of which you should take 15%. Here again, the proportionality table helps us to derive what the solution is. You calculate back, but now you start at 85% because it was a 15% loss. So you know that what you got is 85%. You can also use the best solution, that's by fractions, and then you have to divide the amount that you sell it for by 0.85, which again gives you $240,000. These 4 ways of posing a problem and arriving at the solution are given in the next page in context, but you should try to analyze the next page, and in order to do so I will give you some hints. If you've got an increase, then you can arrive at that increase by adding. We've seen that you can add the part to the old number to arrive at the new number. But instead of adding, you can also multiply. And if it is an increase, you'll multiply it with a number bigger than 1. I write that down as 1.0%. And you will see in some examples what is meant by that. So, increase by a percentage is written in this way. 6% increase is the same as an multiplication by 1.06. Take note that 100% increase is the same as multiplying it by 2, and 200% by 3. Now, you can have the same kind of situation in a decrease. Here we write it a bit different, and you'll see why. We write it like this. A decrease of 6% is written as a multiplication by 0.94. Of course, a decrease by 100% is an annihilation, then you do not get anything, so it's the same as multiplying by 0. And a decrease by 200% is the same as a multiplication by -1. Now, look at this picture. Here you've got all the 6 scenarios. The first one was from old 10 to new 15, and the percentage was required. You did not know that. The second situation, old 15, new 10, and again the percentage was not known. In the third, you had an addition of 12%, a decrease of 15%, and then here the last 2 was that you knew the new value but not the old one, and you knew what the increase or the decrease was. You can also put it down in a picture like this. C, D, E and F are here associated with arrows where you come from in situation C. An old that is known, 500, and a new which is not known, but the percentage is known. The equations that we use, try to analyze this. This is the end of part 2, and thanks for watching.